Catherine.
Hey, Jesse.
I don't think we've actually met yet. We've only emailed.
That's right. It's nice to meet you. And we have some attendees as well. We're going to get started in a few minutes while we wait for some other folks to join.
Great. Sounds good.
I'm also joined by my colleague, Anya, who's also with the town of Chapel Hill. She's here for technical support.
Hi guys, I'm just going to hang out in the background. So I think Catherine's got it, but if you need me, I will be here.
Great. Sounds good.
So for folks who are joining, we are here for the Hillmont Development Applications Public Information Meeting. It's now 5:15, which is the scheduled start time, but we can wait for maybe another minute or two to allow for more people to join. My name is Catherine Shore. I'm a senior planner with the planning department at the town of Chapel Hill. And I'm joined by Jesse Hardesty and Kate Murdoch, who are with the developer application team, and they will be here to present information and answer questions. We have about 6 attendees, and we'll give folks a little bit more time to join, and then we'll get started.
Catherine, do you mind adding Jake Diamond over to the panelist side? He's with Northwood. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Catherine.
Welcome. So as a reminder, public information meetings are an opportunity for the applicant to share information about the project, answer questions, and to address any concerns from attendees. No decision is being made tonight. This is purely for attendees to share feedback, to offer input, for the application team to clarify any questions that come up. And I will be taking notes and just here to answer questions about process from the town's perspective. And happy to kind of take any questions that maybe need further consideration that can't be addressed in this meeting, and answer them at a later time. So we waited a few minutes. I think we can go ahead and get started. As I was saying, my name is Catherine Shore. I'm with the Planning Department at Town of Chapel Hill. I'm joined by the applicant team for the Hillmont Development Project Proposal, which is Jesse Hardesty, Kate Murdoch, Adam Golden, and Jake, please excuse me for mispronouncing your name, Dinerman?
Dinnerman, but you're good.
Dinnerman, excuse me. And they will share a brief presentation about the proposed development at 138 Stansel Drive, which we've been referring to as Hillmont. And then we'll open it up to questions. And when we get to that point, I'll ask that you use the raise hand feature. And I'll be able to bring you into the panelist room and you'll be able to share your question. Anything else you need me to cover, Jesse?
I don't think so. If you're cool with it, we'll take it from here and present the project.
Go ahead.
All righty. 1 moment. All right. Well, hello everyone. I'm Jessie Hardesty, as Catherine said, and I'm a planner with McAdams. Also with McAdams tonight is Kate Murdoch, and then Adam and Jake are with Northwood Ravens. So we are here to share some information about our rezoning submittal for Hillmont. And we will give a brief overview of the rezoning process that we're going through, kind of where we are in the process. I'll let Northwood Raven introduce themselves and give a little bit of background, look at the existing conditions of the site and then our proposed plan, and then we'll open it up to questions. So we'll try to keep this somewhat brief just to allow time for a conversation and comments and any questions that you have. So to start off, we submitted our concept plan for the site actually in January of last year. So it's been a little bit of time, and we went through the Community Design Commission and Council review for those also in the beginning of 2022. And then our first zoning submittal didn't go in until March of this year. So you'll see in bold where we are right now. We are at the public information meeting stage in the process. And after our first zoning submittal, we're still waiting on our comments from staff, and we'll probably go through around 2 to 3 rounds of technical review on our site plan. And after we have gone through that review with staff, the project will then be in front of Planning Commission and Council for review and for a vote. And so if you received an invite to this meeting tonight, that means that you will also be receiving a notice in the mail for when those public hearings come around. And now I'll hand it over to Adam just to give a little bit of background on Northwood.
Sure, thanks. My name is Adam Golden. I'm a development partner with Northwood Raven. We have been very active in the Chapel Hill area, well, throughout the Triangle for the last well over a decade. And in Chapel Hill particularly, we've done multiple projects. Hopefully you have seen and hopefully been to many of them, or at least driven by them. Some of the more prominent projects are Carolina Square that you see pictured here. It's right on Franklin Street. It has the Target and then the retail on the ground level right on Franklin, and then there's an office building behind it that's part of the project. And then Caraway Village, which is also pictured kind of bottom left, that's on the north side of town, right off Eubanks Road, real near I-40, where we've done kind of another larger scale mixed use project with residential retail. There's even a new storage building being built, a drive-in theater that we were really excited about. And then Chapel Hill North, the apartments behind the Harris Teeter also off of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and then Chapel Watch Village, Cosgrove Hill, and then way back when we were actually involved in the apartments in Meadowmont Village, right across the street from where Hillmont is. So again, we've been very active and been part of Chapel Hill for a long time. And this is a project I've actually been working on this as long as we've been working on Caraway Village, to try and kind of make this happen. We love the location and we're excited about it. So look forward to bringing it forward.
Great. Thank you, Adam. So just giving a little bit of background, I'm sure everyone is familiar where the site is. We are over on the very eastern border of Chapel Hill, and actually technically in Durham County, but in Chapel Hill. And the site has road frontage on Stantle Drive and Barbie Chapel Road. It's about 35 acres total, and the site is currently zoned as MUD, which is a mixed-use zoning district, and we would be seeking a rezoning to R6, which would be for higher density multifamily. So the previous special use permit that had been laid out, site plan that had been laid out, was a combination of office, some retail, and multifamily. And our plan, which we'll show here in a couple slides, is for the site to be just multifamily with a large portion of preserved open space for the development. So overall, we're decreasing the intensity of the site. Here are just a few images of existing conditions of the site. It's a mostly vacant site, but there are some commercial and residential buildings on site. So these are some aerial images and an image taken from Stantle Drive looking in. So here is our proposed site plan. We are proposing multifamily buildings here on the northern portion of the site. You'll see these 5 multifamily buildings, and then we are still determining all the details of what you'll see are labeled as blocks A, B, and C. So this area will likely be some form of multifamily or potentially townhomes, but we're still working through all the details of those areas, and we should have further details as we go through the site plan review with staff. So this northern area will be around 375 units on the northern portion, and then the southern portion, which would be blocks A, B, and C, would have a maximum of around 125 units. So the site overall would be capped at 500 units. We are preserving the stream that runs on the northern end of the site, and we will have one stream crossing just to allow for access running north to south, and be providing some central amenities for these multifamily tenants. And then block D, we also are still working on the details of this, but this will be open space for the development. So could be anything from play lawns to trails, potentially a dog park. There could be exercise stations. We're still working through what the programming might look like and ideas for this. But the idea is that we want to keep that block D area as open space. And then you'll also see these blue areas. These are conceptual stormwater devices that would be placed at the low points of the site to treat stormwater. And then our access points would be off of Barbie Chapel Road. And then we would also have access off of Stantle Drive. So it's a very kind of high level overview of what we're proposing. Adam, is there anything that you want to kind of add on to that or touch on?
No, I think you covered it perfectly.
All right. So again, since we're still early on, we don't know exactly what these buildings are going to look like. We don't know the exact building materials and everything, but wanted to just at least provide some imagery of previous projects that Northwood RAVIN has done and what these buildings could potentially look like. So these would be the 4-story buildings located on the northern portion of the site, just some examples of what they might look like. And then here are some images that would be examples of the blocks A, B, and C of some potential either lower story multifamily or townhome style products. And then some examples of options for that open space, open lawns for different a variety of uses, walking trails, potentially a water feature. It's really open-ended at this point. And from there, I will stop talking and open it up to any comments or questions.
So as a reminder, folks, thank you, Jesse and Adam, for that presentation. If you have a question, please use the raise hand feature, and I will bring you in as a panelist, and you can share your question with the development team. I'm going to bring in as a panelist Khaled Williams.
Hey, am I coming through okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. My name's Khalid Williams. I'm a homeowner in the Bradford Place, Downing Creek neighborhood, not quite bordering, but sharing Stansel Drive with the proposed new development. My main question was, what, if any, considerations are being made to the traffic patterns on Stansel Drive and Barbie Chapel Road for where there will be access to the new development? Stansel Drive is, a pretty small access road. Trying to get onto 54 from there during rush hour is already pretty busy and dense with the population that we've already got living out here. And, it's been having a lot of issues with potholes recently. So any considerations to the road infrastructure, as well as, I guess, any impacts to any of the drainage we can expect to see around? We've been having a lot of runoff issues around our neighborhood as well. So just wanted to bring up those concerns and see if there's been any thought given to how this project might take that into consideration.
Yeah, I can start. So we did have a TIA that was completed for the project, and from what I can remember, I don't think that there were any required improvements from the TIA, but we are still in review with staff. So we haven't received formal comments from the transportation department with Chapel Hill yet. So we're still waiting to hear if there's anything that they recommend that we need to do on Stansel Drive. As far as drainage on that in that area, I mean, we would be treating any stormwater runoff from our site. Unfortunately, we don't have our engineer on the call, so I can only speak to stormwater so much. But I know that Chapel Hill's requirement right now is that we treat for the 25-year storm. I know that they're in the process of amending their ordinance to increase that. So that's a consideration of ours. Does that mostly answer your questions?
Yeah, I think so. So just so I'm understanding correctly, you are still waiting on official comments on the plan from the transportation folks in Chapel Hill. But was it the TIAA? You got approval on that previously last year?
So not approval, and I'm sorry for using acronyms. Sometimes I forget that we use it every day, and not everyone knows what that is. But that's a traffic impact analysis.
Cool.
So the town hires a consultant or has a consultant that we use that conducts a traffic impact analysis based on the intensity, the land use intensity of a project. And so that was conducted already, and we received that back. It's not something that's necessarily improved, but it provides recommendations for roadway improvements. And I don't think that there were any improvements to Stansel, but I'd have to double check.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate the answers.
Great. I'm gonna move you out of the panelist room and move another person, Henry Lister, in as a panelist.
Sorry, did I turn the right thing on? Can anybody hear me? Okay. I appreciate your all's presentation this evening. You all may be aware that I've been interested in how this property is going to be developed since Capital Associates was proposing for this property back in, oh, I don't know, 2003 to 2008. Then they got crunched by the recession, which is why their SUP failed and nothing was built there. I share with Khalid, and I hope I get to meet Khalid at some point in time, about the pedestrian and traffic that this project will create. I was reading the TIA for the Barbie Chapel Apartments this afternoon, and they have some significant problems, predominantly in the evening hours, with traffic at the variety of intersections, whether it's Barbie Chapel or Little John or Finley Forest, NC 54. Most of them are C grade or lower. And I'm concerned that the addition of your all's project would significantly impact Stancil. Forgive me, I had a stroke in December and I'm still trying to get my words together. So just give me a minute to try to form all of this together. Stancil is already a pedestrian area as a service road that used to be 54 and is now just a service road off 54. I'm not sure whether it is town or state road. There have been some back and forth about who's responsible for paving, who's responsible for fixing holes. And I have more than once contacted both the town and the state about doing a variety of repairs. And I think Khalid mentioned some of the pothole issues that have taken place. But if there is no dedicated extension of the greenway that is part of what is Meadowmont, it comes across Barbie Chapel, and then it kind of becomes greenway again where the car wash is, and then it ends at the photo shop. And the pedestrians are left for using Stancil Road for movement. It's very dangerous. I know that Capital Associates' plan was rather elaborate. They had hoped to have an extension from their property out to 54. DOT disapproved that. So I think that Khalid points out something very interesting, that there are pedestrian issues with Stancil Road as it exists now. And there are also traffic problems, which your property has as its primary egresses, both east and west off the property, that is dumping traffic either toward Barbie Chapel Road, which allows it only to go right, or out to the intersection at Little John, which creates a significant amount of traffic. I know that the Barbie Chapel Apartments, we're looking at about 1,300 trips per day for their project, and then you'll be adding on at least that onto Stancil Road. So I think that we still have some significant traffic issues to work out with that. And lastly, the only other thing I'm going to be short about this is the SUP that was granted to Meadowmont granted a significant setback to the residential homes on Little John Road. I'm sorry, to Woodmont. Forgive me, that's part of my problem is word choices. So when the SUP was granted to Woodmont, there were significant setbacks granted for the residential neighborhood, for the residents on the west side of Little John Road. Those setbacks were anywhere from 75 to 100 feet from the property line. I know that's a lot, but the way you all have the major building set at the east of your property. And the parking areas that are to the east of that, right at the edge of the property line, are a little too close to the homes. And the homeowners there are very, very concerned about the proximity of your project to their property. And so they would like for you to reconsider. I know that both Stormwater Advisory Board and the, I forget which board it was. I have notes somewhere. Both recommended that maybe you would consider switching large buildings closer to the verge and putting the townhomes near the RCD area, which is closer to the residential homes. And I wonder if that was a thought that had crossed your mind. So with those 3 points, traffic, setbacks, and what was the other one? No, I didn't do stormwater. Anyway, you've there. I apologize, but those are the concerns of the 20 residents here at Forest. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for all of those comments. Those are helpful to hear and hear you on the traffic. I know that traffic is a concern with, almost every new development that comes in. And so it's something that we definitely need to talk to the town about and work through. I especially hear you on the Greenway connection on Stancil. I think that that's really important. That's something that we'll have to figure out a way to include that. I think that would, benefit the neighbors. I think it would benefit future residents for this project and adjacent ones. So I'm glad that you brought that up. That was a really great point.
Jessica, for clarity, some of the residents have suggested that the Greenway be extended into the parcel of land between 54 and Stancil Road. And I point out that that's not going to happen because Department of Transportation owns that land and you don't have control over that. So that's not an option.
Yeah, I don't know that would be, but we'll just have to, we'll figure out something, hopefully working with the town, working with DOT. Those are just conversations that we haven't had yet. But I appreciate you bringing those things up.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, Mr. Lister, I remember your comments that were very well thought out also at our concept plan hearing. And I know you were active when the capital project came through, so I appreciate your thoughts. The one thing I did want to hit, because we actually took, that was, I guess that was the middle of last year when we had the concept plan hearing, and you had brought up, I think, a lot of the same comments and some of the setbacks on the west side of our project that are adjacent to the neighborhood.
East.
We studied that, and we have actually worked on that to try to create a bigger buffer. Some of this site, as you probably know, has pretty significant challenges on a lot of different arenas. There's a tremendous amount of topography that kind of, at Stancil, then it drops down to where the stream is. Then it comes up, which I think is the Mont and Woodmont and Hillmont. And it creates, as far as laying out buildings and where buildings can fit and be sited, it creates a tremendous amount of challenges. And to kind of pull it all together, it's a big site, but it's actually a lot tighter than it looks, if that makes sense, to kind of where things can go. So we have actively been trying to, as our team knows, because we've been pushing, we got to find a bigger buffer. So we are working on that, and we'll kind of continue to work on it. But it just, the only thing I wanted to add is that it is. I wish it was as easy as just flipping, putting the townhomes where the big buildings are and the big buildings where the townhomes are. Because if we could do that, we probably would. But I can tell you, just physical constraints actually make it almost impossible. So, but you make some great comments, so I appreciate that.
And let me be perfectly clear. None of these residents in Sherwood Forest imagine that nothing is going to happen on this property. It's a given. We're just trying to make it the best possible for us and for you. So we're not NIMBYs. We know something's going to get built. We just want the best possible solution that there is.
Which we respect. And, you know, again, we've been a Chapel Hill neighbor for, God, probably 15, 20 years now. So, you know, we want the exact same thing. We are, I think you probably know this. I'm sure, I hope you've seen some of our projects, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to look at them. Each one is different. Each one is, we try to make it very specific for the particular site and for the location. And we try to keep scale, building design, materials, everything really, so it fits with where it is, including the neighborhoods that we're adjacent to and things we're next to. So we try really hard to do that. And that's our goal. So
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much. Next, I'm going to invite Joel Friedman to join the panelist room, and I'm going to move Henry back to the attendee.
I don't know why we have no video. Hey, sorry, don't have any video.
That's all right.
It's down there. Where's the start video?
There. Is it right here? All right. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, can you hear us okay? Okay, well, we're the Friedmans, and we have 130 Stansel, which is the photography studio. And we've been in this spot for more than 30 years. And for about the past 15 to 18 years, we've been building up the back area to use for outdoor photos. And so it's kind of a work of love and a lot of sweat. And I think when I saw the plan, the other person that had brought up, when we had also talked to Woodmont when they were developing their thing. The thing that I did notice as a difference was that it looks like your plan shows you're planting stuff like right on the property line between us and your development. And I was a little bit concerned because of how it would affect my photography area. And I wasn't sure if there was a possibility that there could be a bigger setback, because it looks like the new plants are like literally on the line. So that was our question.
I'm going to share my screen so I can make sure I know exactly where you are. So working on that. So are you this
Right at
parcel?
the entrance on Stansel.
Yeah, that's us.
You're this parcel. Okay.
Try again. And
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, so the real area of concern for me, and it's not a giant concern, I can live with it, obviously it's not our property, but on the side closest to where the driving in entrance is, it's showing a lot of green, like by the driveway thing, and it looks like it's right against the property line. And so
we do have a required buffer there. And I think the idea would be we would, preserve trees there if we can. If we can't because of grading for that entrance, you're right, it is a little bit tight near the corner of the property. And so we probably will have to do a little bit of grading here. So we would be replanting that buffer, but it would be vegetation. And then kind of on the southern portion of your property line, this is a stream buffer, so that would be all undisturbed.
yeah.
So I think what I'm hearing is you prefer for this area to be the existing vegetation instead of replanted, or?
Yeah, and it's actually not even that much. It's really, I have like it sounds stupid, but I have a pergola that has a giant thing of roses growing over it that took many years to get it to go, and it's doing great, but it's at the very point where at the corner, like so I don't really care that much about the part that's like close to Stansel Drive, but just more the little corner area. Just if, yeah, right there. So I don't know if there's anything that you could do about that, but
I think we can certainly take a look and see what we can do.
okay.
I appreciate you commenting on that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to invite Mary to be a panelist, and I'm going to move the Friedmans back to the attendee room. Welcome, Mary. Are you able to unmute? Okay. While Mary navigates the intricacies of Zoom,
I have it.
oh, there we go. Great.
I am very interested in what's going on and agree with the other panelists that, of course, something's going to go there. And we know that. From the very first, when I looked at your drawing, I was amazed at the traffic pattern. There are really only two real exits from your Hillmont, because two of them are both on Stansel Drive, and the other one goes down to Barbie Chapel Hill Road. We use Downing Creek Parkway, and Downing Creek Parkway also goes on to Stansel Drive and Barbie Chapel. So it just seemed like a phenomenally high amount of traffic going out, basically the two entrances on Stansel Drive, and then your one entrance onto Barbie Chapel Hill Road, and then our Downing Creek Parkway also goes out onto Barbie Chapel Hill Road. And the traffic has been quite amazing, because if you go down the road, we're very close to the Friday Center. A lot of traffic with that. We are very close to UNC and UNC Medical Center. And when those things let out, we really do have traffic backed up from down by Falcon Bridge Road all the way back to us. And I just can't imagine what's going to happen if we also have people trying to get out on Stansel Drive, and the cars are waiting, and it happens probably, I think, twice a day. So that huge amount of traffic. The other thing is, if you go on Barbie Chapel Hill Road and you try to go what I call the back way, a lot of people that work at UNC and at the hospital go down those roads. So those roads are jam-packed as well, twice a day. I wish I could tell you an idea of how you're going to handle this. I can't. It just seemed like a huge number of people trying to get out of your project at the same time that a huge number of people will be trying to get home from work or to those locations, especially because I see it backed up already frequently. So that's, I wish you luck. It is my biggest concern, and I can't imagine what you're going to do. That's my only concern.
Thanks, Mary. And I don't have a solution to fix all of the traffic. We hear you, and we heard it earlier, and it's something that we'll continue to work with Chapel Hill's Transportation Department on, and DOT as well. It's, you know, it's always the balance of areas like this where Chapel Hill calls for, you know, a higher density in this area, but as we know and as we've heard, traffic is always an issue. So we definitely hear your comments, and it's something that
Could I suggest that maybe around 5 or so, that somebody from your team go and watch exactly what's going on, because it is, I'm very concerned that it's not, you're not going to be able to do it with that number of people, with that number of units going in. I have no problem with the thing going there. I just don't think that you realize how bad of a mess it's going to be traffic-wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Going to move you to the attendee room and ask if we have about 25 minutes left in the hour. I want to ask if anybody who has not yet had a chance to raise a question and you would like to, please use the raise hand feature to pose a question to the group. It's been a really great conversation so far. And give folks a chance. If you'd like to speak, you may use the raise hand feature. And I see one raised hand from Henry. So I'll move Henry back to the panelist room. Or Henry, this from previous, or did you want to pose another question or comment?
Hey, y'all, I'm no engineer and I'm no traffic genius, but I do remember some of the earlier discussion that we had with Woodmont. Part of the problem that Woodmont had with getting access to 54 was its proximity to the trafficked light at Barbie Chapel. And then ultimately its proximity to Little John Road. But the 1,500-foot distance from Barbie Chapel on 54 that was necessary for an access actually is to the east of your existing property line, which makes it really too close to Little John Road. You can't have two roads that close. So what would happen if we abandoned Little John's access to 54, moved it west, and conjoined it with an access that you all might have that's outside the 1,500-foot level that crossed the median and accessed 54? That would avoid a lot of stray traffic that ends up coming down Little John Road, and would allow a light for traffic with a new egress that currently doesn't exist, but would be kind of a your property, our property, bring them together in the middle. That would be more than 1,500 feet away and might satisfy DOT. It's just a wild hair thought. I thought I'd raise my hand and put it out there. You guys can figure it out.
Thank you for the thought.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say we can or can't do it because I'm not sure.
I know, nobody knows until you ask DOT. Nobody knows.
yeah, that's the that even if we can figure out a way that we, you know, our engineers say it would work, it's DOT that, you know, and as you know, this corridor is I think one of the most if not the most heavily traveled corridor in town. I think the Farrington Road, isn't the Farrington Light the busiest traffic signal in technically in Durham, but I think that's the busiest intersection in Durham, Farrington and 54.
It's an F intersection, that's true. But you know, DOT is the 800-pound gorilla, and good luck negotiating with the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah, it's thank you. We're gonna need the light.
I'm just trying to think outside the box, because I said I want to satisfy us, I want to satisfy you. It just occurred to me that, you know, you've got these two possible entrances. Why not just put them together at the right location? What would that hurt? So thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Henry. I'm going to move Henry back to the attendee room and invite Hugh to be in the panelist room.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Just I agree with basically everything everybody's raised, but wanted to add a plea for some better affordances for pedestrian traffic, in particular on Barbie Chapel, because it's sort of fine further down, but as you get closer to 54, there's nothing. There's no sidewalk. There's no pedestrian crossings, nothing like that. And there will be a greater volume with this, not only of traffic, but also I would imagine of pedestrian traffic. And you really can't, there's no crosswalk until you get all the way down to 54. So it would be nice if some account were taken of those concerns.
Yeah, so I know that the Barbie Chapel apartment project, which is just adjacent to this, has a multi-use path proposed on their frontage up to 54. So I guess that would be something that's required of this project as well, to connect into that. As far as a crosswalk, I think something that we can look into. Thank you for the comments.
Thank you, Hugh. I'm going to invite Aaron to the panelist room and move Hugh back to the attendee room. Hi, Aaron.
I'm sorry, it was muted. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to keep my video off. I've got young kids running all over my house. It's that special time of day. So I agree with everything that Henry has said. We are neighbors of Henry, direct neighbors. One of the biggest concerns for us is, and we know that a lot of studies are done around these projects before approval, but the stormwater runoff is a huge concern for my property. We actually have one of the largest plots here. And as you get to the end of Little John and you get to Essex, we actually live on Essex, and the topography kind of crests at that junction and then comes back downhill into my property. And I already have really big issues with the runoff into my property. And I can't imagine what's going to happen when we have all those impervious structures that will be built, and all that water just starts running off. We have a failing pipe in that creek underneath Little John right now that can't handle the current runoff, and it often floods at the bottom of that road. So I would just be interested to know or to put in your plans exactly what's going to happen to that runoff, and is there a strategic plan for dealing with it?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for bringing that. Getting a little bit of feedback. Thank you for muting. Thanks for bringing that up. And that is absolutely something that we have to show in our plans that's reviewed by Chapel Hill's staff and technical review. We have a stormwater plan right now that proposes a combination of above ground and underground stormwater facilities to treat runoff for, I believe we're treating for the 25-year storm right now, which is Chapel Hill's requirement. So basically that makes sure that any runoff from the site is no different than the pre-development runoff for the 25-year storm. So definitely hear your concern, and that's something that is reviewed by staff and is included in our plans.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Going to change your role to attendee. So seeing that there are no other hands raised at this time, I want to thank you all for taking some time out of your evening to attend this public information meeting. I'll hand it over to Jesse and Adam if you want to kind of make some closing comments, but just to say that my contact information is on the project webpage. If you all need information about what the town is doing, what the town's review looks like, I put that webpage in the chat, and the planning department is more than happy to answer questions about process moving forward. But thank you, Jesse and Adam, if you'd like to make any closing comments.
Thank you for all of the questions and comments tonight. It was good to have neighbors come out and hear from you. And if there's any other questions in the future, we're happy to be in touch and answer those as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I appreciate everyone's thoughts and feedback.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.